Good morning, everyone, and welcome to The Crawl, the show where we break down the future of search, brand authority, and everything else AI is rewriting about digital marketing. I'm Tristan Harris, your host, and today we're going to discuss the real challenges of AI marketing and what companies can do to improve. Our guest, Kevin Wassong, is the perfect person to have this discussion with. Kevin Wassong is a technology founder and operator who has spent his career building platforms at the intersection of marketing, media, and data. He was an early architect of the digital transformation of global enterprises, helping bring brands such as Sotheby's, Merrill Lynch, De Beers, Unilever, and Sun Microsystems online at scale. Across multiple ventures, Kevin has consistently identified structural gaps in large industries and built systems to solve them. He launched Sotheby's first online auction platform, founded JWT's first digital unit, and built Minionville Media and One Mobile. He also played a role in the launch of Fox Business Network, earning an Emmy Award for his work in financial media innovation. Today, Kevin is the founder and CEO of Marketing AI, the creative intelligence operating system for brands. Marketing AI is designed to solve one of the most significant unmet needs in enterprise marketing: the lack of unified system of record for creative and performance. By applying AI to organize, normalize, and analyze marketing data across channels, the platform enables marketers to operate with the same level of rigor, transparency, and intelligence as finance and sales. Kevin is building marketing AI to become the foundational layer for modern marketing by bringing structure to a fragmented ecosystem and transforming marketing into a measurable, accountable, and intelligence-driven function. So, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today. Apologies to have to read you, the full breakdown of your background, but it helps our readers, kind of dig into to what we're going to talk about, and know that they're speaking with an expert in the space. So
Well,
it
thanks for
always,
having me. I
yeah, of
appreciate it.
course, yeah, it always feels a little awkward when you're on the receiving end of the breakdown of all your accomplishments.
It's, it's like, who are they talking about?
But exactly. So, Kevin, you have a really extensive background in marketing and technology. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you came up with marketing AI?
Sure. Yeah, here's the thing. I love technology. When I graduated from college, I went into the entertainment business in California. I happened to live with a guy who was the first Apple consultant for the advertising industry. Essentially, he would go
Wow.
into advertising agencies and set up networks that could network Apple computers because everything was not Apple at the time. So he was really leading that charge. As a matter of fact, he's now um, a senior solutions engineer for NVIDIA. Really plays in this space. But I always loved technology. I had a computer. I had the first Apple. I wish I'd kept it. It had a Velcro top, and you had to buy a
Yep.
separate computer, and that kind of thing. But um, the the impetus for marketing AI actually came about a long time ago because when I was starting the digital division of J. Walter Thompson, one of the biggest challenges I always felt was that we were fragmenting marketing, and marketing works best when it all works together, when the pieces are all aligned. Yet there was no system that allowed marketers to do that, and it was becoming more and more complex. We would go in and pitch pieces of business, and you would build out a war room every time you went into a new business pitch, where you'd tape everything up on the wall, so you were able to see visually what was the audience actually seeing? How were they interacting with it?
Nice.
What were the missing pieces? And then you'd go into the new business pitch and you present the entire experience that you expected an audience member, consumer, customer to have. Yet none of that was done digitally. And as the industry evolved, nobody built anything to do it digitally. It
Mhm.
just didn't exist. And I thought that this was absolutely crazy. It made the marketer's job untenable. And it's why you have this constant turnover. So when .ai domains became available in 2015, 16, I bought marketing AI, mktg.ai. I actually was in the queue and couldn't get marketing.ai. So I cut it down to MKTG, and we met with IBM Watson. We had a lot of meetings to talk about um, could this be done? And we quickly realized it just couldn't be done. Kind of shelved it. Went into the pandemic. Coming out of the pandemic, you started to have these kind of glimpses of the modern day LLM, of OpenAI, of Gemini, of what was going on. The reality is Google has always been an LLM. I mean, that's pretty much the DNA of their business. And so we decided in late 2023 to start building this technology to solve a critical problem that we hear from senior marketing executives all the time. And so we've built it, and we've gone to market, and now we have clients on board, and it's off to the races.
That's fantastic. So I've been in marketing for 2 decades now, and I think I came in right as it had fully transitioned to digital, right? I never had the experience of the war room where you put everything on the wall. I kind of think that maybe that would still be a very useful exercise in a lot of cases. But I've noticed a lot of the same things, like the disparity between tying together all the different creatives you're running, all of the different performance metrics, and tying them back into one space is really difficult. Like we NextNet, we run 8 different companies, and we're launching a SaaS product. Tying all of that back together, we have to use data repositories. So we have a Snowflake that we pull all that data into, and then we consume it in other ways. And honestly, it's a headache. It's not easy to do. Everything feels like a chore to get the data out of it, and it's just a lot. So there's definitely a big need in the market for that.
It's pretty amazing and what AI is enabling today. But when you think about the marketer's dilemma, I think the biggest challenge that we're facing right now is that we're in this stage that AI is actually compounding an existing problem. It's not providing a solution. And I think many in the marketing industry would argue with that and would disagree. But the fact of the matter is, you kind of have, if you were to envision kind of your 4 quadrant diagram,
Mhm.
and on your horizontal axis you have high spend and low spend at the bottom, and on your vertical axis, on your horizontal axis you have high volume and low volume. You have clients today that have made decisions that I'm going to be a high volume, high spend client. I'm going to
Mhm.
spend millions of dollars, and I'm going to pump out lots and lots of assets. Personalization tends
Yeah.
to be the term du jour. And that's one model. The other model is high spend, low volume. And then you have low spend, low volume, and low spend, high volume, because AI is enabling that. So AI is
Yeah.
enabling marketers to generate lots and lots of stuff.
Hmm.
And I like to think that's, well, I don't like to think. I think we're proving out the fact that more doesn't necessarily mean better.
Yeah.
And that's a real challenge that we're seeing in the industry today. You're now having marketers pumping out 1,000 pieces of creative a week. That's not going to equal success. As a matter of fact, if anything, it's going to damage your brand longer term. So,
Yep.
how do you start to figure out what is or isn't working in as close to real time as possible?
Yeah, and that's incredibly important. I mean, we saw recently the example of, I believe it was McDonald's ran, an AI generated ad and had all this backlash against them for it, right? And you wonder, did they not do testing with focus groups or small audiences before they rolled this out? How did this get to that point? Did they not have that feedback loop? And that's pretty interesting. I also think somebody may have leaked my questions to you, because my next question was going to be, in your opinion, is AI making marketing better or just making more marketing? Which you kind of just answered. So,
Well, hold on a second, because I want to go back to your McDonald's statement. The
mhm,
McDonald's thing, and here's the thing. We've been Ford hasn't had a physical car in their ads in probably 15 to 20 years.
yep,
And most people don't even know that. All those cars are CGI generated. Many major
mhm,
brands have been generating images of their products and putting their products into different kinds of scenarios through CGI for years.
mhm,
What AI has enabled is the ability to do that a lot cheaper. I think the backlash against the McDonald's is more of a backlash against the existing ecosystem and the cost structure of doing things, more than the actual quality of what it is that they created.
I think that's
So,
fair.
you
Yeah.
know, you get this question we're living through a transformational period right now. And your question is kind of there's no answer to your question at the moment. We don't know.
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing. We don't know. And we suspect certain things and we're seeing a lot of things in the data. AI is absolutely going to make the business better. How is yet to be determined. More, I don't think is the answer, and it's the stage
Mhm.
we're in right now.
Yeah.
And the backlash is a response mechanism to fear. That's what it is.
Yeah.
People are fearing that this thing is taking my job. We presented in a new business meeting, and there was a junior analyst in the meeting, and she was almost starting to cry as we were presenting.
Wow.
And I said, "Are you okay?" She goes, "Are you here to replace me?" And I looked at
Wow.
her, I said, "No, absolutely not." I go, "We're here so that you can focus on doing things better, making the business better, being more strategic, being more creative.
Mhm.
And we're here to supplant the kind of process work that's become, honestly, a big revenue stream for a lot of companies who don't want to see it go away. But the
Yep.
reality is, I'm sorry, it's going away.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
part of developing reports and PowerPoint presentations and Excel spreadsheets that give you your performance data and here were your ads and here are our
Mhm.
insights, those days are gone. That can now be done with technology.
Yeah, and it can be done quickly and with a high degree of certainty, which
Yes.
is, I think, something that a lot of people don't talk about is the quality of that specific output tends to compete or be better than the quality of what you would get from vendors or from people that were doing it individually, which I think is a good segue into the need for people in their roles, such as that woman that you had presented to realize that this isn't an existential threat. It's an opportunity to adopt and become more efficient and to kind of show what you're able to do and to make a name for yourself. And that's, we have employees here, excuse me, who have really leaned into it and have built some really amazing tools that we utilize for our sales team, things along
Mhm.
those lines. And it's been great. Um, and they've really stood out and, gone beyond what their original role was to, kind of build all that out, which, is an SVP of marketing. That's the kind of things we notice, right? So I think that a lot of people do have that concern, which I don't think is irrational. But I think that people need to realize that you can either ride the wave or be swept under. So,
It's not irrational, but there is an existential threat. And that is, um, who's going to train the next generation of people to do marketing
yes.
when the machines are doing all the things that assess how the sausage was made and how it performed? If you're no longer hands on or understanding that process, how are you supposed to learn about the process? And how are you supposed to be someone to define evolutionary paths for marketing and what comes next? That's the existential threat. And if marketers aren't in tune with that, aren't focused on that, aren't working with their teams to train them on how to do things and have that in place, then we're in a lot of trouble. I think it's so interesting. It's a term that I've talked about. I call it the disposable brand. We've lived through an age over the last 10 years or so,
Mhm.
especially with performance marketing, of the disposable brand. When you find performance marketing firms who have hundreds, if not thousands of clients, a lot of times those clients are a lot of a little, which is not a bad thing. But I'll also ask consumers a lot of times, tell me the last product that you purchased. And they'll say, oh, I bought you know, um, an earwax remover. It's like, and where did you see that? I saw it on social media. And what was the brand? No idea. Will you ever buy another product from that company? Absolutely not, because
Probably not.
I can't even tell you the company.
It's the cool one with the camera on it, so you
It's
can see what you're doing.
it's
Yeah.
it's like you see these like these crop up all the time, and you're like,
Mhm.
that's performance marketing in a nutshell.
Yep.
And I think that there's a place for that, but what I'm more interested in is, what are the brands? What are those enduring companies that people are going to say, that makes me feel good? As a matter of fact, if you go back to the origins of advertising, advertising was designed many times to reinforce a positive perception of a decision that you already made. I drive a Ford. I and the ads that I see for Ford just reinforces that, yeah, I drive that. That's pretty cool. I like that. That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And the next time I want to buy another car, the hope is that you've built a relationship with that consumer that they say, I want to buy that car.
Yeah.
That's what's missing from this whole ecosystem right now. It's all become so transactional, so immediate that we've really forgotten about that notion of brand. It also begs the question of, does anybody care? I think people do.
Mhm.
Like you know, there's a reason why people buy Apple versus Dell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's uh, so, full disclosure, I worked for Apple for a few years, and I went through a lot of their kind of training and how to talk about the brand and how to build excitement and build promoters of the brand and all of that. And I think it's really salient that you have to have some kind of emotional connection with your potential audience, right? So for Apple, that was, we want to be trendy, we want to be hip, we want to be easy to use, we want people to see us and think like that's cool, and that launched a massive brand, right? Like you think about the early Apple computers and how different they were. I forget when it was, maybe late 90s, early 2000s, where the iMacs had the like different colored backs on them that were transparent, right?
I have one in my attic.
Awesome. Yeah, that thing's antique now. That could be worth something.
Oh,
Uh,
I have the first Mac in my attic.
that's cool. Yeah. I've seen one of those. That's awesome. That's a cool piece of history. So yeah, it's you look at that and then you look at brands like Budweiser, for example, their Super Bowl commercials. They're built to elicit an emotional response, right? They're not sitting there, saying "drink my beer." You know,
But even they have an issue. The large advertisers have an issue because they treat the Super Bowl as a one-off.
yeah,
And it should never be treated as a one-off. It should be treated as a launch pad for whatever the next stage of your marketing is. And
absolutely,
they don't treat it that way. Or it was originally, if you think of the classic Budweiser ads that were on the Super Bowl, they reinforced a brand component, the Clydesdales,
yeah,
the Puppy Bowl, all these things that were
mhm,
all core to the DNA of that brand of that company. That was missing. As a matter of fact, if you want to watch one of the best videos on marketing ever, it's Steve Jobs
yep,
unveiling Think Different. It is
hmm,
by far the best.
yeah,
To me, that is the quintessential speech about why brand is so important.
hmm,
And not only that, the fact that that campaign was developed in less than a month, and put together and put out
it's
in the
wild.
market when he came back to Apple it's wild. That's exactly it. It's absolutely insane. But it speaks to people like Lee Clow and Steve Jobs who understood. And I don't think it's as much about the vision of what it was of the brand as much as it was about the architecture, about you're paying something off. If I think
Yeah,
about things that I purchase, you purchase things that make you feel good. That's what
yeah,
you want. And then you want to reinforce that. And if it's done right from a marketing perspective, well, then you know what? You're going to buy it again. I'll give you a perfect example. Solomon, the
mm,
ski company, makes
mm.
shoes and clothing, all those things.
Yeah. As a Floridian, I'm very aware of them.
They do a phenomenal job of marketing. Phenomenal job. I actually think it's one of the best where it's not intrusive, but it's also because I like the product. Starts with a great product. Let's just start with that. Start with a great product, build a brand on top of it, build relationships, build a community,
Mhm.
and then you have something really powerful.
That's interesting. Being in South Florida, I don't really get any targeted ads for them, or I'm probably not in their audience, especially since for those listeners that don't know, I'm almost 7 feet tall. So if I go on skis or snowboard, I'll probably die. But yeah, I mean, your face kind of is the usual response of 6'10". Um, so I'm probably not their target demographic, especially where I am geographically. Probably not, but I'll definitely have to check them out and look into what they're doing.
Well, just go to their website once, you'll be retargeted for the next.
Yeah, a million times. Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. So to kind of tie it back to the conversation around AI in marketing, what's broken and what's next. Something you had said earlier about brands using AI to just vomit out a lot of creatives. I live a lot in the digital search side, so Google, LLMs, AEO, all that, and something we've seen a big advent of since AI became more commonplace in businesses, but a lot over the last 6 months or so is people just generating a ton of pages on their site, content around whatever they can possibly link back to their brand, and just basically plastering their site with it. And initially that had some uptake, but then obviously the LLMs, Google got wise to that strategy, so they it no longer works, and they're actually being actively penalized. So I think that what we're seeing here in that side and in the side with rolling out a ton of creatives and not really having any focus on quality, just kind of going for that high output, low cost approach. I think that
Mhm.
we're seeing a lot of growing pains and people figuring out, like, is this a cool thing that I can do? Can I like get this competitive edge this way? But I think that people are forgetting a lot of the core points of marketing, right? Like, connect with your audience, build a brand, and make sure that they're, one, that you're targeting correctly, two, that they're interested in your product, and three, that it's something that, isn't going to annoy them to death with 20,000 creatives.
That those are we the the term now is AI slop.
Hmm.
You hear about that all the time. But there's been ad slop for really a good 15 years. We turned on our platform recently for a client that owns 1,100 locations across the US. And just looking at one of their platform instances, they had 5 million ads. 5 million ads. Who
Wow.
needs 5 million ads? You don't.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two is no human
It's
can ever
wild.
analyze that to understand
No.
what worked or what didn't work. Number three, there's no way that there can be brand consistency. And
Mhm.
these are two facts. 89% of marketing has to do with the creative. So that's from eMarketer's research. Essentially, 89% of the effectiveness of advertising comes from what the consumer actually sees, not the media impression, which is what the industry's been focused on for way too long.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the other thing is that 75% of marketers today say that the tools that they're using for measuring their advertising and the reports that they get can't be trusted. Those are crazy statistics when you think about it.
I think any marketer that has run ads on, you know, different social platforms that I won't name has seen a big disparity between what that in platform reports versus what they see actually come through on site. So I have a healthy distrust of a lot of the data that we get from those venues. So I definitely get it. And I'm not surprised by those statistics at all, which, you think you would be, but maybe I'm just too far into it to be surprised anymore.
I've never been surprised by those statistics, and I've been for years kind of I felt like the lone voice in the industry in a lot of ways of saying it's the creative. That's what matters. The line I used to use with everybody is I would say, this is an industry that became obsessed with making impressions and filling those impressions. And when they ran out of those impressions, what did they do? They made more. It's called MFAs. It's called ad fraud. It's called placing lots and lots of ads on publishers' websites
Yep.
to just try and best monetize it. What they weren't interested in was what actually made the impression, the creative. What
Hmm.
did you put up in front of the consumer? And to be honest with you, it's a detriment to the industry because you create, and we've been talking about banner fatigue. That was a term that was coined, probably in the late 90s, not even
Hmm.
present day, where you'd have banner fatigue where people they just scroll past it. They're not paying attention
Hmm.
to it. And as a matter of fact, with a lot of sites that you get today, you can go to Yahoo and you can click through to one of their other sites, their affiliate sites, whatever. You'll get ads on that site to a point where you actually can't even read the content that you wanted to go
It's
to.
awful. Yeah.
Horrible, because they're just trying to monetize it, desperately trying to monetize it.
Hmm.
You don't realize that less is more in a lot of instances. So,
Yeah. I, if you've ever seen a heat map, if you've ever heat mapped a site that has banners, that has, ads on the sidebar or whatever, and you see how people interact with the page,
yep.
you will never see any significant heat mapping on a banner or on a sidebar ad or on an in content ad. People just, like you said, it's fatigue, right? We scroll
You know what's
past
so
it.
amazing is I so when we built Minionville Media, which was actually a fintech company, we worked a lot with clients, and in Yahoo Finance, they had buttons. They were just the little button that underneath a chart, it would have, a TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, Schwab,
Hmm.
those little buttons. Those were the most effective ads that those marketers had out there. It wasn't anything with messaging on the page. It was, I'm interested, I want to trade. Let me
Yeah.
just check those. And it would lead them to those sites. And those were like, they were phenomenal for that industry. But, look, the challenge today is we're talking about lots of different touch points with consumers. And, you know, going back to why we built this technology is the Bloomberg terminal actually was a real catalyst for it. I had 3 Bloomberg terminals at one point. A CMO is essentially akin to a financial advisor. There isn't much of a difference. A CMO has dollars that they have to invest in asset classes, which are marketing channels,
Hmm.
and their job is to get a return on that investment.
Yep.
That's it. A financial advisor's job is to invest in different asset classes, stocks, bonds, ETFs, whatever it is, and get a return on that investment. Nothing like the Bloomberg terminal exists for marketers.
Hmm.
And people in the advertising industry, there's a lot of technologies out there, DSPs and others, that have talked about themselves as a Bloomberg terminal. They're not. They're not a Bloomberg terminal. What they are is they've used that as some proxy. But marketers have no visibility into what their consumers are seeing and how it's performing. And so that's what's needed. That's what needs to happen in the marketing space in order for marketers and companies to really thrive and to
Yeah.
stop this, ever evolving merry-go-round of change that companies go through with CMOs and their marketing partners.
Yeah. And, I won't say how much we spend between our brands every year on advertising, but it's a not insignificant number. And having a better, insight into what works and what doesn't would allow us to be much more efficient with our spend. We right now, a lot of the times you're looking at lead and lag measures, right? So you're trying to figure out, okay, well, traffic or this and that is a good lead measure, but the lag measure, what matters at the end of the day is conversions and ROI.
Yep.
So that, is definitely a big pain point. And I think that the industry as a whole has just said, well, this is the way it is. We have to deal with it.
Yep.
So anything that can break that mold is going to be incredibly valuable. To loop this kind of back to the discussion we had a few minutes ago about kind of that mass amount of creatives going out and kind of losing impact from that and how that less is more. Do you feel that creativity is becoming a competitive advantage again because AI has kind of leveled that playing field?
It's so interesting that you asked that. That's a great question. And I actually think AI is pushing people back to creativity, humans back to creativity. And I think that AI at the same time is opening the door for people who are incredibly creative thinkers, but not very good executors, to be able to generate and create things that we haven't imagined. When I was building digital at JWT, I used to tell our teams, if you can think it, it can be done with technology today.
Mhm.
Um, we're finally there. If you can think it, it can be done. That doesn't mean that it's good. But that
Yeah.
by the way, that's really kind of the bigger issue. If you think about the construct of a traditional advertising ecosystem, there was a reason the creative director existed. There's a reason Don Draper existed.
Yep.
Don Draper existed because he was kind of the arbiter of taste.
Yep.
It was his job. So it didn't, in this day and age, for me, in a lot of ways, it comes down to still having those arbiters, still having those people who can make those kinds of decisions and help guide the process
Yeah.
versus just unbridled development of stuff.
Yeah, and to your earlier point, if you're rolling out thousands of different creatives in, a month even, who could possibly be an arbiter of taste for that, right? Who could possibly review that? What could you possibly, gain from spending the time to look through all of that? It would be a paralysis of analysis at best. It would be at worst, you just ignore it and hope that something you're throwing at the wall sticks. So
That's what you just said is what marketing is today.
yeah.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Everyone
And
is throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks.
yeah. And the spaghetti, we're measuring it based on, all right, well, how much traffic did that drive to my site and what's the lead quality from those funnels? But at the end of the day, yeah, there's a significant issue with that in the market. So, we talked about a lot of problems already, but what what's another problem that we haven't identified yet with AI marketing that no one's really talking about? So what are some issues you see on the near horizon?
So, you know, I tried to raise capital to build this company in 2024 and couldn't get the time of day from people because
Mhm.
everyone was obsessed with generative AI.
Of course,
And generative AI was and kind of took the lead in terms of investment. And I would tell people most of the things that you're investing in are going to be replaced by a prompt in, you know,
yes.
less than 6 months, 12
Half of
months.
them were prompts in a shell anyways. They were an LLM wrapped in a shell that had a prompt at the front end of it. Nothing
100%.
exciting. Yeah.
Applied AI is a completely different area that I think has been completely underserved by the investment community, other than the LLMs themselves who have, essentially aggressively um, uh, competed for the business of an applied AI
Yeah.
solution. I mean, we have been approached by every major LLM, a lot of these companies to work with them. We have a strategic partnership with, you know, a few different companies right now, but you think about that, I think applied AI is the absolute game changer. And that's what most marketers don't understand. The bigger problem I think that a lot of big companies and brands are having right now is that they feel like they're missing something. They feel like they're losing out. And so what they're doing is they're going and signing these massive enterprise agreements with an LLM to use whatever it is, whether it's Claude or
Mhm.
ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever it is, and then they're giving access to their employees and saying, here, use this.
Go wild.
They are.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're doing. Go wild, come up with stuff, build things, do stuff, break things, whatever. All the while they're not realizing that they're actually I think there's a lot of time being wasted. I think that's one component. The other thing is I think there's a lot of stuff happening that's going to be detrimental longer term to their business
Yep.
because they're not controlling the narrative in a lot of ways. You can't just marketing is the DNA of your company. If you think back to the think different is the DNA of Apple.
Yeah.
They have to own it, control it, evolve it, do the things with it. That is their moat. That's what makes them unique. And if you give that away, if we put it out into the universe and let anybody take advantage of it, what uniqueness do you have?
Yeah.
None.
Yeah. You'll at best end up with a bastardized version of it,
Yep.
which is, you know, not what, not how you want to describe your marketing.
You're 100% correct.
So, where do you think AI and marketing is heading next? We've talked about, the analytical side of it. We've talked about the creative side of it. Here at NextNet, we're doing, when we talk about applied AI, we've created a SaaS platform that helps track and influence AI search, right? That's our game. That's, all of our agencies and companies are all search related. So where do you think like the the intersection of AI and marketing goes tomorrow or 10 years from now?
For marketing, to me, it comes down to one word, which I think, you'll start to hear a lot more. I've been using this term for well over a decade, and I'll meet with marketers and I'll use the term and I'll quickly realize that they don't know what I mean. And the word is taxonomy. And what's missing right now with most marketers is their own taxonomy. You'll hear a lot of people talking about data. Okay, this is a great story. Really quick story.
Yeah.
So I took a company called Warner Lambert online. Warner Lambert was acquired by Pfizer. They made Listerine, Preparation H, Dentine gum, like a whole host of products.
All the fun stuff. Yeah.
The crazy thing, I asked the question when I first started working on the business. I was like, okay, explain this to me. Preparation H and Dentine gum. And they were like, chemicals. I was like, oh, okay, got it.
All right. Fair. Yeah.
So really interesting.
As long as
Um,
they're not made out of the same chemicals, you're good.
um, so I'm meeting with them and I said, do you guys do um, uh, customer outreach, CRM? And they
Mhm.
said, oh yeah, we do. We do couponing and different things with consumers. You have to remember, this is the late 90s, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I said to them, I go, we should build a CRM system for you. Well, what's that? Customer relationship management. We'll build a technology that allows you to communicate and build communities around your brands
Mhm.
with consumers, all of this. And they were like, we love this. Let's do this. They said, come back next week. We'll give you all of our customer data. I said, perfect. And went to their office the next week with about 6 people from my group. And the door opens and a guy wearing like a jumpsuit who looked like a facilities manager guy comes in wheeling a refrigerator crate, a refrigerator box on a dolly. And he comes in the room, puts the box down. And I was like, what is that? And she goes, that's our database. That's our customer data.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh boy. And
no, that's a nightmare. That's
I
a
open the
nightmare.
box. It's a refrigerator sized box filled with CD-ROMs.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, oh my God. Now, if I had been smart enough at the time and if outsourcing had been kind of more mature, you would have just taken the box, shipped it overseas, and said,
Yeah.
put this all into a CSV file.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oof.
no, that wasn't the case. Taxonomy is how do you pull together as a marketer all of your creative assets? When I say
Mhm.
all, I'm talking like I'm going to, Starbucks. What does the outside of the Starbucks look like? What does the cup look like? What does the window cling look like? What do the online ads look like? What does the app look like? What is the television?
Mhm.
Every single consumer touch point. Taxonomy is bringing all of that together into it's a digital war room. As I talked about at the beginning of
Yeah.
when we used to spin up these war rooms, it's a digital war room. And then how do you add in all the performance data around that? So that now you have this audit and archive of everything that you've done historically as a marketer so that you can inform what you do next. We met with a CMO of a major global retailer who was 1 year into the job. And I said to him, do you feel like you're up to speed? And he said, not even close. And I was like, wow, you're a year into the job. Why is that? Well, We have multiple agencies. We have a different media agency. We have a different performance agency. We have different marketing partners. Still meeting with all of them, getting the downloads from all of them
Oh,
in a year.
that's
Guess
wild.
what? That person was not the CMO 6 months later.
No.
So this is where AI can really accelerate and help and do things. So
Mhm.
we're doing some magical things with AI. And
Yeah.
it's kind of the vision that we've always had, but what AI is enabling is the ability to actually do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something, just a personal anecdote, early in my career worked at learning Python and things like that to do web scraping and, get really involved in it. I quickly learned I'm no engineer, but I did enough. I figured out enough to cobble together what I needed. Now, 10 minutes with Claude and I can do way more than I ever could, right? So it's definitely giving us the ability to do things we've never been able to do at a scale that we haven't. But the challenge is you still need to know what to do and at what scale to do it at.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So we are coming up close to time. We like to close out these episodes with different segments. Like sometimes we do lightning rounds. Today we're going to do a segment called "What Would You Do?" So I'm going to ask you some scenarios, and you can tell us from your professional experience what would you do. So first, if you had to build a marketing team from scratch today, what roles would you hire first?
Mhm. Um, I would hire a creative first. That would be the first thing, and someone who is an arbiter of taste. That's really it. Not someone to just create lots of content, but
Yep,
someone who understands the ecosystem, understands how the sausage is made, but also has a very good sense and a good taste and aesthetic. That would be number one. Number two would be someone who probably comes out of a DSP or one of the social network platforms
mhm,
from the media side of things, who was hands on keyboards and understands how to operate the machinery.
makes
Those
sense.
would be the two key pieces that I would have first.
Yeah,
And they would sit together.
yeah, they would share a desk for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, question two: if Google disappeared tomorrow and AI assistants became the primary discovery channel that consumers used, how would you adjust your strategy?
That is a really tough one right now with AEO and GEO and trying to crack that code. There is a ton of witchcraft out there. People who
Yes.
will say, "I know how to fix this." And the reality is, I don't even believe as Brent, I was I was, talking to an engineer from one of the large LLMs who was like, "We don't even know how it happens." So which is crazy.
Yeah.
It honestly is crazy. So to your point earlier on about the fact that people said, okay, well, here's how you fix it. You generate tons of web pages that you can kind of make invisible, and you're going to get better results through the LLMs. And then the LLM saying, cut it out, stop
Yeah.
doing that. That is a clear signal that I don't have the answer yet. And I
And
don't think anybody does.
I think that's what's so interesting to me. I built my career in organic and SEO and now, the natural evolution of AEO/GEO. And I think that's what keeps me coming back to work every day is that it changes so frequently. It's a question that you can never really know if you have the exact answer to, but you can know that you're getting pretty close based on, the lag measures. And, that's to me what is so interesting about it, right? Is kind of, it keeps it fresh. And so yeah, some strategies work for, 6 months, some work for 6 days, and some work long term. And figuring out what that is, how you can be impactful short term and long term is so important. And that's, you know, to help clear up a lot of that, nobody really knows is why we built NextNet AI is to build that tool to track all of those results, all those citations, to track share of voice for competitors, and then users can go through and they can see what is working, what isn't working in their specific niche or industry, and then they can make informed decisions from that. So
I would also offer this creates even a greater priority of integrating all of your marketing.
yes.
It's so important. You can stop doing this in silos. Stop.
Mhm.
And the only way that they can stop is having a solution that allows them to stop, which is,
Yeah.
pretty much why we built marketing AI is specifically to allow you to bring these pieces together. Because the reality is to some of these questions, whether it's AEO, GEO, they don't have the answers. Whereas SEO, people figured it out.
Mhm.
There was a method there.
Yes. And it was a fun cat and mouse game with Google where they'd always tweak some things to keep us guessing, and then we'd
Of
have to figure
course.
it out. And then. So, question number 3: if you could only use one AI tool for the next year, what would it be and why?
Claude.
Yeah, Claude. And I already know why, because it's so incredibly useful in so many different ways that
I'll tell you one of the things that Claude does, which I do love, and the other LLMs do it to a certain degree, but not nearly as good as Claude, is you're watching it think.
yes,
It's showing you how it thinks.
is
And it
showing you what it's pulling in, like to digest what you fed it, to whether it's a file or what. It's incredible.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is golden. That to me is actually the biggest benefit of Claude. I mean, look, I honestly, let me see if I can, I don't know if I could pull it up. I had a conversation the other day with an LLM that will remain
Mhm.
nameless. And it truly was one of the most bizarre conversations I've ever had because this was so good. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay. Um, I'm a Knicks fan. The Knicks won the
Yeah.
championship.
Fair. Fair.
Awesome. Great. So I live pretty close to where a lot of the Knicks live, and I knew that they were flying back to an airport that's literally 15 minutes from my home.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So I went on to Gemini and I said, "What time did the Knicks fly back from San Antonio?" This was on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And I did that at like 7:45 and found out really quickly that they landed at 8 o'clock. So they were I would not have enough time to
Yeah.
get there. So I wasn't gonna go. But I had a whole conversation with it. What time did they land back at the airport? And it gave me whatever answer. I said, that's not their flight number. Gave me flight number, all that
Mhm.
information. Said, oh, good catch. Thank you for that. It's this. And then I said, search it for me. Let me know what the number was with the flight details. It said, this was the response, which blows my mind. You caught me in a complete hallucination. I need to apologize. I was so eager to paint a picture of a historic championship return that I completely fabricated a narrative about the Knicks winning the title in San Antonio last night. This is what it says on
Wow.
Sunday.
What?
This is what
Yeah.
the LLM says on Sunday. The NBA finals aren't even over yet, and they definitely aren't playing the Spurs. That was an AI brain melt on my part,
What?
and I'm stepping back to reality. That's what it wrote. And I wrote back,
What?
I go, wow. I go, the Knicks did win the championship last night.
And they
That
did
was
play the
not a
Spurs.
hallucination. What time does their charter flight get back? My apologies again. I completely tripped over my own wire there. I shouldn't have doubted you. You're exactly right.
So
Okay.
I think that just as a whole encapsulates one of the biggest problems with LLMs is that people need to trust but verify, right? You have to
100%.
you can't take it at face value.
Okay, but here's the problem. How do you verify anymore?
Yeah, if you don't have the skill set to
What
verify whatever you're asking it to do, yeah,
Back to my answer on Claude, because Claude shows you its thinking, it shows you its sources.
yeah,
Now, I'm hoping that it's real and they're not just throwing a bunch of logos at you to make you think that this is where
yeah,
it's coming from. But at least when I verified things through Claude, it's done really well. And Claude code is ridiculous as well. I mean, it's
yeah.
just, you know, you
It's
can,
incredible.
yeah, yeah.
So last question. Uh, what's one AI marketing trend you tell businesses to completely ignore? Don't do it. It's a waste of time.
Totally simple. Do not turn on the functions in the platforms that generate hundreds of versions of your
Mm,
assets from a pretty picture and a
yeah,
headline and something else. Do
yeah,
not do it, because you lose the visibility into how your brand is being represented to audiences, because all they care about is hitting your KPIs.
mhm.
So they're going to use the tricks of their platforms. What's worked? There used to be a joke in advertising: make the logo bigger, put free with a starburst on it.
Yeah,
All of these things, have it rotate, have it spin, all these things. They'll do all that stuff. And if you saw what your consumers were actually seeing, you'd be appalled.
yeah. You'd be like, this is a terrible representation of my brand. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Kevin, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I really enjoyed this discussion. We get a lot of guests on the crawl, some of which are marketing or marketing adjacent, some are more AI focused. I always love digging into the marketing side as a marketer myself. It's always, it's a passion of mine, marketing. So thank you very much. I think that one thing you mentioned on using Claude, no hesitation, right? That was the LM of choice. That seems to be an underlying theme with all of our guests. So take that, market or whoever is listening, take that as you will. But it seems like that's the one that everybody loves and uses. So um, before we close out, I like to give guests a chance to talk about where our audience can find them. So, so you have marketing AI, which is spelled mktg.ai. Is there anywhere else you want to share your LinkedIn or anything like that? Now's
Well,
your time.
first, Tristan, I really appreciate you taking this time, and it takes a lot of work to do a podcast. The one thing I do believe in is you can't buy passion. I don't
Yeah,
care how much you pay people. If they're not passionate about what it is that they're doing, they're never going to be successful.
yeah.
So, my passion is absolutely marketing AI. You can find me at kevin@marketingai.ai.
Mhm.
On LinkedIn, I'm just Kevin Wassong. You'll find me there. I think I'm the only Kevin Wassong on LinkedIn. Uh, Wassong, and that would be it. But I love talking about this business, where it was, where it's going, and how to get there. So thanks for the time.
Yeah, of course. And thank you. Shout out to Christina, who does a lot of the heavy lifting for the podcast. A lot of what I do is just show up and smile and talk. So she does a lot of the heavy lifting. So shout out to Christina, and everybody listening. If you like this episode, please make sure to follow on the streaming platform of your choice. Leave a review, and as always, please comment on topics you would like us to cover next. It helps Christina source our guests. It helps us, figure out what's resonating with our audience. And yeah, so thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Kevin. Thank you, our audience, and we'll see you all next time.